Can you help my mommy stand up? The little boy asked the pharmaceutical CEO outside the 4-hour pharmacy. The dashboard clock reads 2:13 A.M. Freezing rain lashes against the tinted windows of the black SUV. Ethan Caldwell steps out onto the Boston pavement. He's 42, impeccably dressed, and completely exhausted. He just walked out of a 14-hour crisis management meeting. The public is furious. The press is ruthless. Caldwell Biologics raised the price of a rare neurological drug, and Ethan is the face of that decision. He walks toward the glowing neon sign of a 4-hour pharmacy. He just needs his prescription sleep medication. He needs the noise in his head to stop. The automatic glass doors slide open. Ethan stops. A woman is collapsed on the wet pavement, slumped against a heavy concrete planter near the entrance. She's shivering. Her honey-blonde wavy hair is soaked, plastered to her pale cheek. It's tied back with a simple black scrunchie, but the knot has loosened, letting wet strands fall across her face. A white paper pharmacy bag lies torn on the ground. A plastic orange pill bottle has rolled into a dirty puddle. Beside her stands a little boy. He's 6 years old, swallowed up by an oversized navy blue winter coat. He isn't screaming. He isn't crying. He's holding his mother's worn purse with 2 trembling hands. He looks up as Ethan approaches. He reaches out, lightly tugging the sleeve of Ethan's expensive overcoat. "Can you help my mommy stand up?" the boy asks. Ethan freezes. The boy looks down at his mother. "She told me not to be scared when her legs forget how to listen, but tonight they forgot for too long." The little boy kneels. He pulls a crumpled tissue from his pocket and slides it gently under his mother's hand, protecting her bare skin from the freezing wet concrete. He begins to count, his voice remarkably steady. 1, 2, 3. "Mommy, don't stand yet. You said we count to 10 first." Ethan's chest tightens. He reaches for his phone to call 911, but then the neon light catches the white label of the pill bottle lying in the puddle. Ethan looks down. Neurovalin. It's his drug. The exact drug his company manufactures. The exact drug he spent the last 14 hours defending in a boardroom. Just below the medication name, the pharmacy receipt is stuck to the wet plastic. The patient's out-of-pocket copay is printed in bold black ink. $1,245. The woman suddenly gasps. Claire Whitmore forces her eyes open. Panic flashes across her face as she realizes where she is. She pushes her trembling hands against the wet ground, desperately trying to force her heavy legs to move. Ethan immediately steps forward, reaching out to grab her shoulders. Claire flinches. "Please don't lift me unless I ask," Claire says, her voice ragged but fiercely proud. "My son has seen enough people treating me like I'm broken." Ethan's hands stop in midair. He looks at her. He looks at the exhausted pride in her eyes. He slowly pulls his hands back. Without a word, he unbuttons his tailored suit jacket. He slides it off his shoulders and folds it gently over the freezing, jagged edge of the concrete planter, right where she is trying to prop herself up. "Then I won't lift you," Ethan says softly. "I'll just make the ground less cruel." Claire blinks. She grabs the dry, thick wool of the jacket. It gives her the exact leverage she needs. She slowly, painfully pulls herself up until she's sitting upright. She breathes heavily, brushing a wet, honey-blonde curl out of her eyes. Then, she looks at the jacket. Pinned to the lapel is a tiny, silver emblem, the corporate logo of Caldwell Biologics. Claire's expression instantly drops. The vulnerability in her eyes turns to ice. "You work for them?" she asks. Ethan stands perfectly still in the freezing rain. He says nothing. Claire looks straight into his eyes. No, she whispers, her voice filled with quiet devastation. You are them. The sliding doors open. The bright fluorescent light of the pharmacy is blinding. Ethan walks beside Claire. He stays exactly one step away, giving her complete control. He doesn't hover. He doesn't touch her. He lets her move at her own pace. Claire sits heavily on a metal bench near the bandage aisle. She reaches up, hooking a wet, honey-blonde curl behind her left ear. It's a small, exhausted habit. At the counter, the pharmacist looks up. His eyes dart from the dropped pill bottle in Ethan's hand to Ethan's face. He recognizes the CEO from the evening news broadcasts. A few late-night customers turn their heads. Whispers ripple through the aisles. The air inside the small pharmacy suddenly feels thick and hostile. Ethan ignores the stares. He pulls a sleek black credit card from his wallet and sets it on the glass counter. Ring up the rest of her prescription, Ethan says quietly. No. Claire's voice cuts sharply through the quiet store. Ethan turns around. Put your wallet away, Mr. Caldwell, Claire says, her breathing still shallow. I don't need a CEO paying my bill just so he can sleep better tonight. Ethan drops his hand. You need the full dosage, Claire. A bitter smile touches her lips. She tucks another blonde strand behind her left ear, looking at him with startling clarity. I know exactly what I need, Claire says. I used to be a quality assurance tech at a small lab across town. We developed the baseline protein structure for Neurovalin, and then Caldwell Biologics bought us out. Ethan's eyes narrow slightly. You shut down the lab to absorb the patent, Claire continues, her voice steady but laced with heavy grief. I lost my job. I lost my premium insurance. And when my own nervous system started failing, the drug I helped create became a drug I couldn't afford. Ethan straightens his posture. The deeply ingrained corporate defense mechanism kicks in. Clinical trials cost billions, Claire, Ethan explains, his tone measured and practical. 9 out of 10 targeted therapies fail. For rare diseases, the market is incredibly small. We have to answer to our investors. If we don't set those margins, the funding dries up and the research stops entirely. He isn't entirely wrong. He's just a man trapped in the logic of a spreadsheet. Claire looks at him, her eyes completely devoid of sympathy. I know medicine is expensive to make, Claire replies. I helped make it. What I don't understand is when staying alive became a luxury plan. Ethan opens his mouth to respond, but a small voice interrupts him. Noah steps out from behind his mother's arm. He clutches her purse tightly against his chest, looking way up at the towering man in the expensive suit. Are you the man who makes Mommy's medicine hard to buy? Noah asks. The innocent, direct question hits Ethan harder than any media smear campaign ever could. The CEO armor shatters. Claire rests a shaking hand on Noah's shoulder, pulling him gently closer. I didn't fall outside because I was careless, Claire whispers, looking back at Ethan. I've been taking half doses for 2 weeks. I was trying to stretch the bottle until my next paycheck at the laundromat. Ethan stares at her. The brutal reality of his corporate pricing strategy is sitting right in front of him, rationing her own survival. He turns abruptly back to the pharmacist. He pushes the black card forward. Run the card. Now. I said no. Claire forces herself to stand. Her legs tremble violently under her weight, but she refuses to fall. She leans heavily against the counter, reaches out, and physically pushes Ethan's credit card back toward him. Ethan looks at her in utter shock. Claire, just take the help. If you pay for me tonight, Claire says, her voice echoing in the dead silence of the pharmacy, tomorrow another mother still goes home without it. Ethan stands perfectly still. The fluorescent lights hum loudly above them. For the first time in his entire career, the brilliant CEO has absolutely no prepared answer. A smartphone lens reflects the harsh fluorescent light. A customer stands near the vitamin aisle, holding his phone up, recording every second. He whispers excitedly to his friend, "That's him, the Caldwell guy. This is going to get 1,000,000 views." Claire shrinks back. She pulls the thick collar of her worn winter coat up, desperately trying to hide her wet, honey-blonde hair. She doesn't want to be a spectacle. She doesn't want her son to see her being humiliated. Noah's small face hardens. Following a child's pure instinct, he steps right in front of his mother, spreading his little arms out wide to block the camera. Claire immediately catches his shoulder. She pulls him gently back against her side, wrapping her arms around him to keep him safe. Ethan moves. He doesn't shout. He doesn't threaten the man. He doesn't snatch the phone. He simply steps forward, placing his broad shoulders directly between the camera lens and Claire. He looks straight at the man holding the phone. His voice is dangerously calm. "She didn't collapse to become your content." The man hesitates. He slowly lowers his phone. The entire pharmacy falls into a dead, heavy silence. Behind the counter, the pharmacist nervously hands Claire her paper bag. His hand shakes. A few drops of thick, red cough syrup splatter directly onto the sleeve of Claire's coat. Claire gasps softly. She tries to brush it off, clearly flustered. It's the only warm winter coat she owns. Her hands are shaking too much to clean it. Ethan pulls a clean tissue from the counter. He steps toward her. Slowly, the billionaire CEO drops down onto one knee, bringing himself perfectly down to her eye level. He doesn't grab her arm. He doesn't invade her space. He simply places the white tissue into her trembling palm. He watches her struggle. She cannot wipe the stain. Ethan looks up into her eyes. "May I?" he asks softly. Claire hesitates. Then she gives a very slight nod. Ethan gently holds the edge of her wet sleeve. He wipes the sticky syrup away with absolute, methodical care. He doesn't rush. He doesn't look around to see if anyone is watching his good deed. The people in the pharmacy watch in stunned silence. A notoriously cold CEO is kneeling under bright white lights, carefully cleaning the coat of a woman his money could not buy. Ethan stands up and throws the tissue away. "My car is outside," Ethan says. "Let me drive you home." Claire shakes her head. She grips her bag tighter. "No. The bus stop is right at the corner. We don't need any more favors." Noah rubs his eyes. He leans his tired head against his mother's hip. He yawns, looking up at her with heavy eyelids. "Mommy," Noah murmurs, "you said help doesn't mean losing if we still say thank you." Claire freezes. The defense walls she spent years building suddenly crack. Her own words echo back at her from the mouth of a 6-year-old, reminding her that preserving her dignity doesn't mean she has to suffer alone. She looks down at her exhausted son. She looks at the violent rain lashing against the glass doors. Finally, she looks at Ethan. "No cameras," Claire says, her voice strict and unwavering. "No press, no story." Ethan holds her gaze. "No story," he replies. He turns and opens the heavy glass doors into the freezing rain, paving the way for her. The black SUV pulls up to a faded brick building in Somerville. 3rd floor. No elevator. Claire grips the wooden handrail. Her knuckles turn white. Every single step is a calculated, painful effort. Ethan walks exactly one step below her. He doesn't offer to carry her. He keeps his right hand hovering just an inch from the banister, directly behind her shoulders. He's close enough to catch her if her legs fail, but far enough away to let her climb on her own terms. Noah bounds up the stairs ahead of them. Click. The hallway light flickers on. Noah pushes the heavy apartment door open. He slides his small backpack off his shoulders and wedges it firmly against the doorframe. The door stays propped open, ensuring his mother doesn't have to bend down to hold it. It's a quiet, practiced routine. The boy knows how to care for her without ever putting himself in danger. Ethan steps inside. The apartment is small, but impeccably clean. There's no exaggerated misery here, just the exhausting, daily reality of survival. A wilting basil plant sits on the windowsill. Noah's crayons are neatly stacked on a scratched coffee table. Ethan looks at the refrigerator. It's a command center of anxiety. A strict medication schedule is taped to the metal. Next to it, medical bills are meticulously organized by colored binder clips. Red for past due, yellow for pending. Then, Ethan sees the framed photograph on the bookshelf. It is Claire. She's wearing a crisp white lab coat. Her honey blonde hair is tied back in a neat, low ponytail. Her eyes are bright and alive with ambition as she stands proudly next to a clinical sample analyzer. She wasn't just a struggling mother. She was a professional. She had a future. "I applied, you know," Claire says quietly. Ethan turns. She's leaning against the kitchen counter, pulling her damp coat off her shoulders. "For the Caldwell Biologics Patient Assistance Program," she continues. "I filled out the 30 pages. I waited 6 weeks. You were denied," Ethan says. "It isn't a question. I was missing one old tax form," Claire says, pouring a glass of tap water. "And my double shifts at the laundromat put my income exactly $300 over your threshold." She looks at him. Her voice carries no anger. It's just heavy, with a crushing, absolute exhaustion. "Your program doesn't reject the desperate, Mr. Caldwell," Claire says. "It rejects the disorganized, the exhausted, and the almost poor." Ethan stands in the center of her living room. The brilliant CEO is completely silenced. He knows she's entirely right. The system isn't broken. It was built to work exactly this way. "I should go," Ethan says softly. "Get some rest, Claire." As Ethan turns toward the door, Noah trots over to him. The little boy holds up Ethan's suit jacket. It's still slightly damp from the rain, but folded carefully. "Thank you," Noah says. Ethan gives the boy a small, respectful nod. He steps out into the hallway and drapes the coat over his arm. As he does, his fingers brush against something inside the front pocket. He pulls it out. It's a piece of torn notebook paper, written in messy, uneven crayon. "Thank you for not picking Mommy up like she was broken." Ethan stands alone in the dim hallway for a very long time. When he finally turns to walk down the 3 flights of stairs, the expensive wool of his tailored jacket feels incredibly, impossibly heavy. Morning sunlight glares off the glass walls of the Caldwell Biologics boardroom. It's a stark, jarring contrast to the cramped third-floor apartment in Somerville. Here, the air smells of expensive roasted espresso. Massive screens display climbing stock prices and quarterly growth charts. The head of PR slides a sleek folder across the mahogany table. Rumors about the pharmacy last night are circling. "Ethan," she says, "we can use this. We release a statement. A compassionate CEO stepping in to help a struggling mother. It's a perfect brand story." Ethan doesn't open the folder. He slides it back. "No," he turns to his chief financial officer. "I want the real data. How many patients drop their neurovalin doses because of the copay? How many assistance applications do we reject monthly? How many people are experiencing treatment interruption while waiting for insurance approval?" The CFO shifts uncomfortably in his leather chair. "Ethan, that data isn't relevant to our quarterly strategy meeting." Ethan leans forward. His eyes are cold. "Then maybe our strategy is designed not to see the people it hurts." The boardroom erupts into tense murmurs. The chairman of the board raises a hand. The room falls dead silent. "We are not the villains here, Ethan," the chairman says quietly. "Neurovalin treats a rare disease. The R&D cost billions. The patient pool is microscopic. If we slash margins, we cut funding for future trials. You want to save today's patients by killing tomorrow's cures? It's the brutal, realistic truth of the industry. No one in the room is entirely wrong, but the system is still crushing the people it was built to save. Ethan remembers the yellowed medical bills held together by colored clips on a cheap refrigerator. "I am not slashing the baseline price," Ethan says, his voice cutting through the tension. "But I am changing the access pipeline." He looks around the table. "First, we reduce the patient assistance application from 32 pages down to 3. Second, we establish a bridge dose program. We supply temporary medication while patients wait for insurance clearance. Third, we cap out-of-pocket costs for unstable incomes." The CFO scoffs. "And who funds this initial phase?" "We do," Ethan replies instantly. "We cut the executive bonus pool." Silence drops over the room like a physical weight. "Finally," Ethan continues, "we publish an independent drug access report every quarter." The chairman stands up. He looks at Ethan, seeing the ghost of Ethan's father in the CEO chair. "Ethan, stop." The chairman warns, his tone dropping to a severe threat. "If you push this forward, the board will hold a vote. You could be suspended from the CEO position by the end of the week." Ethan freezes. This chair is his father's legacy. It's his entire identity. But in the sterile quiet of the boardroom, all he hears is a little boy's voice in the freezing rain. Mommy's legs forgot how to listen. Ethan buttons his suit jacket. He stands up. "Maybe mine did too," Ethan whispers. He turns to the lead corporate counsel. "Draft the new policy. Have it on my desk by noon." Ethan turns and walks out of the glass boardroom without waiting for a response. He steps into the quiet hallway. His executive assistant is waiting. She's sprinting toward him, clutching an iPad tightly to her chest. Her face is completely pale. "Mr. Caldwell." She breathes out of breath. "The pharmacy video. It just leaked online." Ethan frowns. "I told PR to kill the story." "It didn't come from PR," she says, handing him the glowing screen. "Someone edited it." Ethan looks at the playing video. The audio is cut. The footage is maliciously spliced. It shows Ethan kneeling, wiping Claire's coat, and then aggressively pushing his black credit card across the counter. The bold text flashing across the screen reads, "Pharma CEO pays hush money to sick mother. His quiet moment of respect has just been weaponized into a scandal." The industrial washing machines hum loudly. Claire walks into the laundromat for her night shift. She stops. 3 of her coworkers are huddled around a smartphone behind the folding counter. They look up. Their eyes are full of heavy pity. One woman looks at her with quiet suspicion. Claire looks at the glowing screen. Pharma CEO caught paying off sick mother outside pharmacy. Her stomach drops. She's no longer Claire Whitmore, the proud former lab technician. She has been reduced to a pathetic side character in a billionaire's viral drama. She pushes the back door open and steps into the cold alley. Her hands shake as she dials his number. He answers on the first ring. "You promised no story," Claire says. Her voice trembles with raw anger. "Claire, I didn't release that video," Ethan says immediately. "I am trying to kill it." Claire leans her head back against the cold brick wall. She touches her honey blonde hair, feeling utterly exposed. "Men like you don't have to release stories, Ethan," Claire replies. "People build them around you." She hangs up. Across the city, the head of PR points to a massive screen in Ethan's office. The video is trending globally. "We spin this," the PR director says eagerly. "You go on national television. You talk about our corporate humanitarian commitment. We invite Claire to sit next to you if she agrees." Ethan stares at the paused video. He sees Claire shrinking away from the camera lens. He realizes that corporate sympathy is just another form of brutal exploitation. "No," Ethan says. The PR director blinks. "Ethan, this is a golden ticket. Get the legal team on the line." Ethan interrupts, his voice like iron. "I want injunctions filed against the platform. Scrub any frame showing her son's face. Remove her identifying information immediately. And if any of you utter the name Claire Whitmore in a press release, you are fired." Later that evening, a camera flash blinds Claire as she leaves the laundromat. A reporter shoves a microphone into her face. "Did he pay you off? Are you signing a non-disclosure agreement with Caldwell Biologics? Are they exploiting your illness?" Claire backs up against the brick wall. Her heart hammers. She's completely cornered by the flashing lights and shouting voices. Heavy footsteps approach. Ethan Caldwell walks into the alley. He doesn't step directly in front of Claire to play the hero. Instead, he steps slightly to the side. He physically draws the reporters toward him, creating a wide, unobstructed path for Claire to walk away. He gives her an exit. "Mr. Caldwell," the reporter pivots, thrusting the microphone at him. "Did you pay this woman to keep quiet?" Ethan stands tall. His posture is perfectly calm. "No," Ethan says. The reporters pause. "She refused," Ethan continues, his voice cutting clearly through the noise. "And she was right to refuse." The alley falls dead silent. Ethan turns his gaze directly into the camera lens. "The question isn't whether I helped one woman outside a pharmacy," Ethan says steadily. "The question is why she needed help there at all." Claire stands by the door. She looks at him. For the first time, she doesn't see a ruthless CEO protecting a profit margin. She sees a man desperately trying not to lie. "I will hold a formal press conference in 48 hours to announce a complete restructuring of our drug access policies," Ethan declares. He turns and walks away. The moment the broadcast hits the airwaves, phones begin ringing in the Caldwell Biologics boardroom. The chairman immediately begins drafting the paperwork. They will vote to suspend the CEO before he ever reaches that podium. Dust dances in the pale morning light of the Somerville apartment. Claire pulls a heavy cardboard box from beneath her bed. Her hands shift through old tax returns and expired warranties, but she stops. Her fingers brush against a faded, yellowed folder. She pulls out a single sheet of paper. It's an internal lab memo, dated 5 years ago. The subject line is clear: critical risk, dose interruption of neurovalin. In the document, Claire had explicitly warned her former supervisors. She detailed the severe, rapid muscle deterioration patients would suffer if they missed doses due to insurance delays. She had proposed a temporary bridge dose safety net. The memo was filed exactly 1 week before Caldwell Biologics bought the lab, gutted the staff, and buried the paperwork. Hours later, the heavy doors of Ethan's executive office swing open. Claire walks in. She wears a simple gray wool coat. Her honey blonde hair is tied low at the nape of her neck with a plain black scrunchie. A few soft, wavy strands have escaped, falling gently across her pale cheek. She doesn't sit down. She places the yellowed memo directly onto Ethan's immaculate desk. She slides it across the polished wood. "I warned your company before I ever needed your drug," Claire says. Ethan picks up the paper. His eyes scan the printed words. The color slowly drains from his face. This is no longer just a debate about aggressive profit margins. This is proof. His company absorbed the patent, saw the clinical warnings about dose interruption, and actively ignored them because safety nets don't generate revenue. Ethan looks up at her. He expects to see fury. He expects her to call the reporters swarming outside the building. "You could destroy the company with this," Ethan says quietly. Claire shakes her head. "If I wanted revenge, I'd give it to someone who needs a villain," Claire replies, her voice steady and resolute. "I'm giving it to you because maybe you can still become more useful than sorry." Ethan looks back down at her signature at the bottom of the page. He sees the absolute failure of his own system in black and white. "Let me use this tomorrow at the press conference," Ethan says. "Let me show the board what we ignored." "You can use the data," Claire says instantly, "but my name stays out of it." And Noah stays completely out of the cameras. "Agreed," Ethan says without a second of hesitation. That evening, the Somerville apartment is quiet. A soft knock sounds at the door. Claire opens it, but the hallway is empty. A small, unmarked brown box sits on the welcome mat. She brings it inside and lifts the lid. There's no Caldwell corporate logo. There's no flashy receipt. Resting inside the tissue paper is a pair of soft, light gray medical-grade shoes. They're lightweight, deeply cushioned, and exactly her size. Resting on top is a small, heavy card with a handwritten note for walking out on your own terms. Noah peeks over the edge of the kitchen counter. He looks at the soft gray shoes, his eyes wide with childish wonder. "Are those magic shoes?" Noah asks. Claire gently touches the soft fabric. Her eyes well up with hot tears, but a genuine, beautiful smile breaks across her face. "No, sweetheart," Claire whispers, her voice thick with emotion. "Just shoes. Sometimes that's enough." Camera flashes erupt like lightning. The press room is packed. Ethan Caldwell stands behind the wooden podium. The chairman's final threat echoes loudly in his mind. "Stick to the PR script. Do not mention the old memo. Admit no fault, or you are suspended immediately." Ethan looks down at the perfectly typed, legally approved speech. He slowly pushes it aside. He looks directly into the lenses of 50 cameras. "Caldwell Biologics created a medical miracle," Ethan says, his voice echoing through the microphones. "But we built a system that ensures many patients cannot use it safely." The corporate executives standing in the shadows of the room turn completely pale. "We were warned years ago about the severe physical risks of dose interruption," Ethan continues, his tone unflinching. "And we ignored those warnings during our merger." Gasps ripple through the crowd of journalists. "Effective today, we are implementing a bridge dose safety net," Ethan announces. "Assistance applications are cut to 3 pages. Out-of-pocket costs are capped for vulnerable patients. We will establish an independent advisory board and publish our access data every single quarter." A reporter jumps up, shouting over the noise. "Mr. Caldwell, are you admitting your company caused harm?" Ethan pauses. The room holds its breath. This is the exact moment he could use corporate jargon to protect himself. Instead, he leans closer to the microphone. "Yes," Ethan says steadily. "Not because the medicine failed, because medicine without access is still unfinished." By noon, his suspension is official. The board strips him of the CEO title. But the broadcast is already global. The policies are public. The board cannot take them back. 3 months pass. Golden afternoon light fills a local community hall. Ethan stands quietly near the back rows. He's no longer the man in charge. He's now part of the ethics transition team, finally learning how to help without needing to control. The heavy double doors open. Claire walks in. She wears the soft gray shoes. Her honey blonde hair falls in gentle waves, tied neatly at the nape of her neck with the familiar black scrunchie. She's officially fully funded for her medication. She still has tiring days. The illness is still real, but she's no longer splitting pills to survive. She's now a paid consultant on the new independent advisory board, armed with the right to publicly critique the company. Noah bounds into the room. He spots Ethan and runs over. "Do you still help people stand up?" Noah asks, tilting his head. Ethan smiles softly. He looks past the boy, meeting Claire's eyes across the room. He crouches down to Noah's eye level. "I try not to be the reason they fall," Ethan replies. Claire hears him. She doesn't say a word. She walks toward the front rows, stopping at the edge of the small wooden stage. There are 3 steps. Her leg stiffens slightly, a small, lingering tremor from a tiring day. Ethan steps forward. He doesn't grab her arm. He doesn't try to lift her. He simply extends his arm and opens his hand, palm facing upward. It's an offer, not a command. Claire looks down at his open hand. She slowly reaches out. She places her palm firmly against his, not because she cannot walk on her own, but because, this time, she chooses not to stand alone. And for the first time in years, Claire didn't feel weak for accepting help. She felt free.